Hello, I'm Dr. Selma Bartholomew. Welcome to the Dr. B Show. I'm excited to have the opportunity to engage with you. I'm an educator, an entrepreneur, and a mom, and I'm excited to take this time to connect with you and share some of my experiences and expertise. My goal is to inspire you and to have courageous talk on turning the corners of life. That means we get to explore a range of topics in life, from education to parenting to leadership, community, and other zippy topics. Today, I want to talk to you about paying attention. That's right, paying attention. I'm curious to know what memories are triggered when you hear me say to you, pay attention. For me, I immediately go back to being a young girl in a classroom and I can hear the voice of a teacher saying, pay attention, Selma. Pay attention to what's on the board. Or when I would wash dishes, I can hear one of my aunties or my mom saying, pay attention. Don't spill the water on the floor. The message was that to learn something, you have to pay attention, right? Certainly when you drive, you see the signs. Pay attention, there's no crossing. In our adult life, there are so many things pulling at us for our energy and for our time, and are demanding that we pay attention to it. You have to pay attention to your Twitter account. You have to pay attention to your Instagram account. You have to pay attention to all of these different platforms, which are supposed to make you feel more connected, yet still we feel just as frustrated as we give our energy to all of these different things. That is why I want to have a courageous conversation with you today on paying attention. First, I'm an educator, and if we've not noticed that our children and also our adults are really crying out for help, we cannot become numb to the signs of pain that is evident in the culture of violence in our communities, mass shootings, cyberbullying, and depression. My courageous conversation today on paying attention is because I want to say to you that I think that we've been getting it wrong. What I've learned is that when life changes for the better, the stress begins to fall away. And when you hone and prioritize, it's not because of the things we pay attention on the outside, but it's how we begin to pay attention to the things on the inside of us. I don't believe that we as adults have learned how to pay attention to what's on the inside. And then it makes it even harder for us to help our children learn how to do this. I stand firmly in the understanding that when you and myself and everyone learn how to really listen to what's happening on the insides of our body, to give notice to our spirit, to our hearts, and to ourselves, we will be surprised by how quickly things change. And the change will be for the better. When we give notice to our spirit and our mind, we experience joy and even more purpose-driven decisions. In my work, I coach teachers, leaders, parents, and anyone really seeking change. I meet people who voice feeling stuck in their life. Sometimes as a parent, you may feel like you're on this roller coaster wheel and you just can't figure out how to get off. And for so many of us who feel like if we're stuck in a job that's not fulfilling, but why is that if we're trying to make an exit out of a parking lot, we would see the signs that say, speed up your exit. But why is it that we don't know where and when to post those internal signs that tell us it's time to exit out of a situation that's really not working for us and tells us when it's time to let go? As always, I always want to kind of start with some very concrete examples for our time together. And so I want to always be able to connect to examples around leadership, but also I want to make sure that in the show we have a chance to also share some personal examples. And so this is why I really want to have this opportunity to really talk about paying attention and to shift the paradigm around us, to really learn how to listen to what's inside. As I stand here today, I think about all the lenses that you may be seeing me from. And my perspective also varies as I look out on the world. I consider all the adjectives that may come to mind. You might say, well, Dr. B, you're a woman. Well, that's true. I'm a Black woman. That's also true. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a leader. There's all of these different roles and titles and adjectives. And let's be honest, those adjectives can't possibly sum me up, but it does affect how you look out onto the world. And so as I think about this question and I reflect in terms of health, and I think through the different lenses and examine data on our health and consider where we are as a nation, where we are as women, where we are as men, and where we are as a community, the data reveals that we are absolutely failing and getting some things wrong in our lives and in our society. The nature of stress that our body holds onto, and how is it that the external factors impact our physical health and wellness? I'm continued to be disheartened and concerned as I consider the health index for Black women. The data is telling us that Black women are 25% more likely to die from heart disease than our counterparts. We have an alarming rate of being 70% more likely to perish from cervical cancer. And that's even more scarier when you consider the stat that we are 200% more likely to die during pregnancy and childbirth. As I reflect on my experience in school as a girl growing up in Harlem and New York City and throughout my college and graduate school, there was never really a course or continuous opportunity to really learn about self-care, to learn how to reflect on how you are really feeling inside. And as I work with my schools today to help them improve, it's a core part of our work to really help make classrooms a space of wellness. It's not a quick fix or one shot. It's an entire shifting in mindset and practices. And even the physical space must change. I know that these are complicated issues, and I'm mindful. I don't want to put it in a box and just label this as women only. I'm using the lens as a woman, and certainly as a woman of color. But be careful. This act of paying attention is an issue for men, for women, for children, and for people at all different ages and stages in their life. When we examine the state of health within our communities and our nation, and even within the world, we definitely have a problem. And so today, I really want us to engage in this courageous conversation and really think about a different set of questions with the hope of really changing outcomes. We need to ask, how do we begin to learn how to pay attention to what's on the inside? In the context of being a woman, I think that society is always telling us that you're supposed to have it all together, holding it together. You're constantly being told not to show your emotions, hide how you're feeling, don't express what you're feeling on the inside, even though your body on the inside is ringing all of the alarms and asking you to keep real tabs on what's happening. Notice I said, that's right, I'm not excluding myself. I'm letting you know that this is really hard to do. And I'm just as guilty of wanting to ignore the internal alerts. And we tell ourselves that we just have to push through the day. Just one more item on the to-do list, rather than really stopping and considering what's happening on our bodies and how do we take better care of ourselves. Once again, I'm saying that we're getting it wrong. And I know that we've been getting it wrong when we begin to listen and really pay attention to what's on the inside. I know that we get some major shifts. We learn how to prioritize differently. Then when we begin to really pay attention to our spirit, we learn to really discover ourselves and how we can live our life with purpose, our passion, and our pearls. When you pay attention in a different way, you experience the quality of life that we want and that you truly deserve. And we also learn how to protect our spiritual, mental, and physical health and make decisions that are truly transformative in life. Today we have all of these tools that are designed to improve communication, but yet still they make us feel disconnected. When we survey young people and as I talk to young children, they're telling us that they feel disconnected, they're depressed. Our children are victims to cyberbullying, yet they're connected on Facebook, they have their Instagram, their Twitter, and all of these social media sites. Note though, there are no social media sites that really create a safe space for young people to discover who they are and their purpose and their goals. So I'm asking you to really be courageous with me and ask, how do we get to meet up with ourselves? How do you begin to look inside and feel safe enough to really meet up with ourselves and discover who we are? Only then, in that reflective process, will we start to trust. Then we will discover our purpose, we'll find our passion, we'll mine our pearls, and really take ownership of who we are. This sense of urgency to learn how to pay attention to our inner spirit is evidence in the problems that play out even in our personal relationships and in unhealthy relationships. Keep in mind that unhealthy relationships take different forms, and the most drastic form, of course, is to be in a situation of domestic violence. But once again, I'm going to ask you not to put any labels because this issue is not gender specific. Both men and women need to learn how to really pay attention and meet up with ourselves. But in the context of our love relationships, you would have to first admit that you have an internal compass, which we call our gut and our intuition. Your internal compass gives you a reading when you're in danger, when someone doesn't have your best interest at heart. I'm aware of Dateline's tagline, "Don't watch it alone." But when a person ends up in a harsh and abusive relationship, you might think, well, that person must have low self-esteem. But that's where they're in an abusive relationship. However, you don't get self-esteem overnight. If you've never learned how to shape, how to craft, how to chisel, how to protect, how to safeguard who you are, that does not happen overnight. It will not happen as a society or as a community if we're not teaching our young girls, our men, our children, and ourselves how to really listen to our internal spirit, to our soul, pay attention to our mental health, and what are the internal signs that our internal compass sometimes ignore. Sometimes when you're in a relationship, somebody might say, well, where have you been, honey? You might be flattered at first, right? You might think initially, oh, he's jealous or she's jealous. But the internal gut does tell us something and really sends off the warning signs and the bells. So it's important to ask ourselves as we engage in our relationships and we reflect, what's really happening on the inside, and to really learn to listen to our compass and to listen to who we are. As you think about yourself and owning who you are, I know that it's extremely hard. In the context of my own personal journey, I want to say to you that I have become so much self-aware. And as I reflect on being an entrepreneur, wherever you are in your personal life or in your professional life, I'm confident that there are no shortage of things that pull you. So as an entrepreneur, I used to say that I had many feathers in my hat. Well, now I know I wear many hats with lots of feathers, and on any given day, someone is trying to put a sticker on my hat. It doesn't matter what the role and title we are wearing in our personal and professional lives, whether it be mother, father, husband, sister, wife, leader, colleague. In our personal and professional lives, there will be absolutely moments and seasons where you just feel so overwhelmed. And I want to just say to you that it is in those moments that you have to now protect the quiet, stop, and meet up with ourselves, because that will give you the strength to resolve the issue. You get to ask about who you are in that moment, what are your strengths, and what does this moment or this season offer you in developing your capacity to problem solve. Meeting up with yourself in those challenging moments and seasons allows you to get to know yourself in a different way and truly appreciate who you are. If during the difficult moments you lose yourself and not take care of yourself, then each time another challenging situation comes about, you must see it as another opportunity to learn and to be a champion for your mind, for your body, and for your spirit. If you're not taking stock of what's happening to the inside, your spirit, your heart, then you're really missing out on a priceless opportunity to learn how to develop, how to craft, and how to shape who you are. It's a journey, and I'm always working on this for myself. When I started to really learn how to pay attention, I discovered that I was the one who may want to take charge during a difficult moment. That can be good, but let me tell you, it can also be bad. I had to make a conscious effort to remind myself that I can't do that in most situations, because then I may be taking away the discomfort away from the other person and truly robbing them of the opportunity to grow. Let me be honest, I learned that I may overstep my bounds, and I didn't want to be that person. And when I do it and take the lesson and really take the lesson to heart, I continue to be more self-aware. And I realize it's made me a better parent, a better daughter, a better friend, and a leader. I learned that it's okay to accept. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? A loved one fails. A loved one learns how to get up and figure it out on their own. Here's the best part about giving time to really learn about yourself. I think that I've learned that the important things in life keeps coming back. And there are opportunities when I even want to say to God, do I need this lesson again? Didn't I already get this lesson? And what I hopefully discover is that I may have forgotten some of the lesson, or maybe there's another part of the lesson that life is offering you that I didn't get the first time or even the second time around. Let me also warn you. If you think that this question of paying attention to your soul and to your spirit is a quick fix, you want to say to me, Dr. B, I'm going to take a few days off to discover myself. Yes, go to it, do a retreat. That's a wonderful place to start. However, the journey is just beginning. Why just beginning? Guess what? You can't send a text to your soul and expect your soul to text you right back. That would be great, right? If I could send that text to my soul and say, Selma, you need to give up the chocolate. And my soul would just text me right back and say, oh, of course, I won't have chocolate anymore. But it doesn't work like that. In this journey, it really is about you constantly self-assessing, and that does not happen overnight. Maybe you need to start journaling, build a PowerPoint, capture your thinking, or keep a notebook. If reflection is a new skill for you, then you don't want the challenge of learning how to do something. It might frustrate you that you can't do it once. This is an ongoing process, and it does truly beckon the call of a journey and experience in life. The other part of paying attention is that I want to remind you that at each physical stage in life, the self is always changing, and that the self that is reflected in the mirror has changed. Our bodies and our minds are constantly changing in different stages in life. At this stage in my life, I am always having hilarious and open conversations with my dear friends. And the title begins with 1,000 Reasons Why Menopause Sucks. No, really? I'll say it again. It sucks. All this while society and mainstream is telling myself and other women, and yes, they're telling men also, but men get different sets of messages about their masculinity. Yet the message is the same. 50 is the new 25. Dare I be courageous with you? Society is telling you the truth is to look outside, that 50 is the new 25, and you're not living your best life if you're not out there popping and cracking. Yes, I don't want you to think that your best life and that you have to accept some sense of failure. But the me is always changing. Who I am is certainly not who I shall be. Who I was 20 years ago, whoever you are now is not who you will be 25 years from now. It'll be a new you. And I'm excited to say to you that it will be a new you, and you have to embrace that, the excitement of getting to know and getting to meet and greet the new you at different stages and phases in life. If you don't know how to notice what's happening, the truth is, yeah, menopause sucks. But your body is constantly changing while everybody is telling you, go live your best life. And if you want to pay attention to what they're telling you, rather than really taking the time and saying, wow, I'm going to have to make some adjustments. What are those things I might need to do differently if I didn't do them before? Why is it that I need to be considering things now as I look to my future, given the body I have now? Paying attention will give you the tools that I need to really deal with change. And the only constant in life is change. Let me take a moment now. I want to talk about this in the context of leadership and what we do as leaders. I've said this before to those leaders. We don't deal with paper, we deal with people. And leadership is synonymous with change. On a regular basis, several of my leaders who I support and my principals, they tell me things like, Dr. B, I can't find time to eat today. It's too busy. I have too much work to get done. So as I work with and coach my leaders, both men and women, I'm constantly helping them to deal with the guilt. They've got the extra pounds. They can't find time after work or before work to go to the gym. Now, certainly you may want to get to the gym, but when you finish work, it's already late. You get up early. And then you decide that you need to stop in the grocery store. You need to get the paper towels or whatever the item of the day must be. I want to shift that from you. And I want to say to my leaders, I want you to start to pay attention to who we are and thinking through what's really happening to us physically. We need to start making better choices and decisions and plan our lives in a different way. To simplify and ask ourselves, do you need to be in the store that late hour? Can you get organized enough to make one time, maybe a monthly trip or weekly, dare I say purchase online, so that it frees up some time? And once again, what's the worst that can happen if you don't have the stockpile of paper towels and toilet tissue? Maybe you don't have to go to that grocery store right now. If you did go, do you have to carry all the bags in at the same time? Can you leave some in the car if you're tired? And why not find time to eat lunch? How can you as the leader give to everybody every single day when you can't give to yourself? So in the context of leadership, we need to learn how to pay attention. And in our organizations, in terms of leadership and the prevailing culture in business today, most companies are branding and hanging high banners that says employee friendly. They have take your kid to work day, and in some organizations, they have take your parents to work day if they have a younger staff and a more millennial age staff. It sounds really sexy to say that, right? We care for you. We're doing all of these things to help you and to further the quality of your life. But I also want to question it from a leadership perspective. Are we truly concerned about our employees? Take a closer look. Are people there till 11 o'clock at night? So many businesses today operate in 3 different time zones, which means you've got to get up early to be on that New York call. Then you're expected to be on the London call. All the while when no one is really asking you, who's checking up on the kids tonight? Are you okay? Did you get a moment of quiet for your mind today? Whatever it is, it seems like if your staff as a leader is not necessarily making time for themselves, then how does it really truly reflect your beliefs as a leader? And I'm asking, how do you begin to create an organizational culture where people truly do feel valued? And I ask that question in the context of our schools. To stop and become more reflective and introspective around who they are. And will you be able to respect it as a leader? Will you also, as a leader, be able to protect it? Because I would argue, yes, if your staff can't necessarily manage between all of the demands of home and work and business, and all of those other demands we're spending time as leaders figuring out, then maybe we're not really walking the talk, and there really is a disconnect in the organization. It's important to examine our policies and get to know the people in our organizations as you lead. You have to get to know yourself. You have to get to know yourself in tandem with truly getting to know your staff and to know your team. I want to then get to this idea of what happens when you truly begin to pay attention. I think that we learn, again, how to care for ourselves, how to be more reflective, and I think we get to be okay with who we are. Because I think as we look at who we are, we see that we are complex, but we also get to see that we're connected to others, and that yields us to be more compassionate. It helps our children to be more compassionate as well. And in turn, we get to be compassionate to others. So I'm thankful, and I want to say to you that I don't necessarily have activities. I don't want to do that. And the reason why is because the first step in this is to really accept and learn how to filter away the internal noise that will come about when you find quiet and time to reflect. We give our time to the grind of work and home and life and taking care of families. And so quiet often makes us feel like if we should be doing something. If quiet makes you want to run into the busiest, and into the busyness, I want to say to you that that's a juicy moment, that when you have to run into the chaos, that you need to now say, no, stop, I need a moment of quiet. That if you're feeling lost and have not had chances to really discover who you are, don't know your purpose, what you're passionate about, and you can't really mind your pearls, I'm going to say to you that I'm hopeful that this talk today about learning how to pay attention, how to really protect your spirit and your physical well-being has held. I want to wish you a joyful and a peaceful day. In closing, I want to say to you that saying thanks is not the same as giving thanks. So I give thanks and appreciate you taking the time to connect with me and sharing your energy with me on the Dr. B Show.